my god, oh my god.
Oh, hello! You might be wondering how I got myself into this little predicament. Well, the reason scalding hot coffee is incinerating my nether regions is because I'm trying to find the best gas station food in every other region. So don't let my nads sizzle in vain. Stick around to see which gas station will reign supreme. Hello internet, welcome to Food Theory on the Road, where the theories don't stop and the food always has the right of way. Just to catch you up, I'm moving from Los Angeles, California to Miami, Florida, and I'm not just putting on my seatbelt, I'm clicking on my thinking cap to see what theories I can find on the open road. And in case you are joining for the first time, make sure to click the subscribe button because every sub will get me 1 mile closer to my destination. And I am tired. I just want to go home. But speaking of being tired, one of the most important parts of any road trip is filling up at the gas station. And not just filling up your tank, filling up your stomach too. But whenever you're in a rush or on the road like I am, you gotta make sure wherever you stop is gonna hit the spot. So today, we're gonna be visiting major gas stations all across the country to determine not just which category of gas station food is the best, so that you know what foods to reach for no matter the gas station, but at the end of it all, we'll be finding out which gas station truly stands above the rest. So the most important thing to keep in mind here is that all gas stations are not created equal. Some of them are geared more toward a quick pump and being on your way, while others are much more of an experience. It really wouldn't be fair to flat out compare different gas stations to each other since they're not all trying to provide the same dining experience. And yes, I do use the word dining very loosely. So in order to not have everything skewed towards those experiential locations, we're going to be looking at things a little differently. First and foremost, we're not going to be looking at the things you find on the shelves and fridges and gas stations. Reason being that every single place will offer the regular chips, drinks, and jerkies that you might associate with gas stations. Hence, we can cancel those out across the board and focus our attention on their hot bars and made to order items. So we're going to be looking at 3 different, well, I was gonna say fresh, food categories that you'll find at most, if not all, gas stations. Those being a poultry dish, a meat dish, and, as you astute theorists may have gleaned from that cold open, coffee. We've broadened that scope since no 2 places will have the exact same food, giving us a chance to even the playing field. But we're not just gonna be looking at the taste, since that's so subjective. Instead, we'll be looking at the price, freshness, and convenience of each food category and ranking the places on an F to S tier list. This way, we'll be able to find out, regardless of which gas station you find yourself at, what type of food you should be springing for. So to start things off, we'll be taking a look at my nemesis, coffee. Luckily, like gross bathrooms and truckers named Buck, Tuck, or Trevor, coffee is something that you're pretty much guaranteed to find at any and every gas station. But the nuance here is how that coffee is prepared. You have coffees that are made and poured into dispensers where they sit all day until they're emptied, and on the other end of that, you have coffee machines that grind the beans right in front of you. Of the major chains we visited, Mobil, Chevron, and Shell had the most variety in coffee machines. That didn't exactly mean it had the best coffee of the 3 though. The biggest downfall of all the major gas stations when it came to their cup of joes was the maintenance that coffee requires. Because the Shell stations which did have the quote unquote fancier machines ended up having staler tasting coffee. Our hypothesis here was that the coffee machines need regular cleaning and descaling, something that the employees in more isolated areas most likely didn't do. Descaling is the process of removing the mineral buildup in the machines that happens when water runs through in the coffee making process. That buildup of calcium and other minerals ends up giving the coffee a stale, bitter, or even acidic taste, which is exactly what we experienced in most cases. When it came to the freshness, the major chains were at the bottom of the bunch. They also came in dead last for the coffee variety. Forget about light, medium, and dark roasts. While there were exceptions, like the locations that had the machines, for the most part, it was a regular or decaf or no other option sort of deal. That said, coffee that was made by the gallon came with some of the cheapest prices we found, ranging from a simple $1 to $1.80 across the board. And since these chains are so widespread, if you're in need of a quick, cheap caffeine pick-me-up that doesn't come in the form of an energy drink, the major brands are a good bet. When it came to the regional places, there were some clear winners and some clear losers. Starting with the biggest upset, Bucky's. Now, if you've never seen or been to one of these magical places? Bucky's started out in Texas, but is now in 7 other states with plans to add another 10 on top of that. And when I tell you that I was awestruck, that's still an understatement. Walking inside felt like walking into Disneyland. There was merchandise, there was a mascot, and there was an entire wall of jerky. I knew going into it that this place had some serious fans, so I figured with a place that had a reputation that preceded it like this, that the coffee would at least be decent. That was not the case. And I'm not just biased because this is where I burned my giblets, even though I did add an impromptu category just for them.
That's a 0. That is a 0 for Bucky's in item quality. Jeez, I'm gonna take off the top now. Yeah, all right, let's see this. Yeah, not much flavor, tastes a little stale. Definitely not a fresh pot. It's not bad, but it's definitely not good.
Unfortunately, the problem with such a massive place like Bucky's is that it has the same pitfalls as the major chains from before. With so many people coming through, you have 2 options. 1, constantly be replacing and refilling the coffee containers, or 2, just have the coffee in massive containers so that you only have to replace it every once in a while. I'm not faulting Bucky's for going with the latter. After all, it makes way less sense to have someone pretty much dedicate their day to refilling the coffee, and it allows them to sell it for the cheap price of $1.29, but it did end up biting the beaver in the butt. In the coffee category, that's a big D tier for the fan favorite. And before you start thinking that any place with pre-filled dispensers will have a bad taste, there was a shining exception in Love's.
Oh yeah, it's night and day. It's night and day. This is way better. This isn't mind-blowing coffee, but it has a good flavor. It has a good bitterness. It doesn't taste stale. It tastes relatively fresh made. Like it feels like if you went to run-of-the-mill coffee shop, like between this and Starbucks, for example, I wouldn't know the difference. And this is only $2. But the flavor here, very, very good.
I realize that saying the coffee is like Starbucks isn't exactly a glowing review, but compared to all the others we'd had so far, it was the first one that we actually enjoyed sipping on. The flip side of the coin is that it did cost a few more coins, coming out at a total of $2.09. But for the convenience of a grab and pour coffee with a fresh taste, the price absolutely seemed worth it. Love's landed right in our B tier for this category. Wawa, the East Coast beast, was in the middle of the pack. It was fine and was pretty deserving of a C. The top dogs when it came to coffee were the gas stations with machines that actually ground the coffee beans up when you ordered it. Sheetz was the first place where we experienced this, and it made a huge difference.
This has been my favorite coffee so far. It does taste much more fresh than the other ones.
Sheetz was the first comfortable A-tier coffee. Good news for the rest of Team Theorist in Raleigh. But the standout star, and by far the best coffee we had, was at Circle K. Having never been to one before in my life, I had no idea what to expect. But as soon as I saw the machines, I knew it would be good. And at $1.69 price point, it was among some of the cheaper options too.
So, like I mentioned, this was $1.69. Nice. Let's see. In terms of freshness, I'm hard pressed to find something that beats this, because you can tell that it was ground in the moment. Of all the gas stations, this is the freshest coffee, and also comes in under that $2 mark.
Circle K hit the mark in every way. A nice price, quick and convenient coffee machine, and great freshness. So Circle K, more like Circle S tier. So where does that leave us? If you're looking for a good gas station coffee, it's definitely a challenge unless you find a place that has the machines that grind the beans when you order. That said, if it's a gas station with the coffee dispensers, try and get the coffee from the ones that have just been filled. More refilling means fresher coffee. But no matter what you do, don't drink Bucky's coffee without quadruple checking that the lid actually fits on the cup. Let's face it though, you're not gonna change where you fill up your tank just because of the coffee. So let's move on to the actual difference makers here, starting with the poultry. The major chains don't really stand a chance here because frankly, they were so hit and miss as to whether they'd even have a hot bar that giving them an F didn't even seem right. So sorry big brands, you won't even make it in these next 2 categories. But the ones that did make it to the bottom here were the same ones that topped the last category. That's right, Circle K gets a big F here. While their price was low for their hot bar foods, they'd been sitting under a heating lamp to the point that the wrapper was hotter than the food itself. And from a convenience standpoint, when I grabbed the sandwich that was in the chicken slot, I didn't realize that it was actually a misplaced breakfast sausage sandwich until I got into the car. Pretty much the opposite of convenient when you expect to buy one thing and get another. And sorry to say to the team in Raleigh, but Sheetz was a pun I can't make if I want to stay monetized.
That was hard to get down. The mayo, first of all, slathered on there. The bread is so cakey that it absorbs all your saliva and it makes it so hard to get it down.
The worst part about it was that, like their coffee, it was made to order. But instead of being more fresh because of that, it was clear that the ingredients had been sitting out for quite some time. My stomach was not happy about this, which is not something you want happening on the road. The price wasn't even cheap for the sandwich either, coming in at almost $9. The only thing that saves this from the F tier is the fact that you can order through a touchscreen that shows you all the options for customization in a nice, simple way. Love's had the least amount of variety in their foods, with just fried chicken rolls available that cooked under a heating lamp. Freshness, thy name is not Love's. But at a $2.50 price point and a very convenient grab-and-go method, it did merit a C tier placing. And in a classic redemption story, Bucky's easily placed in the S tier here. At a $6.99 price for the chicken sandwich that you could just grab from the bar, it was one of the more affordable options while staying super convenient. And even though they were pre-made, people were snatching them up so fast that the employees were constantly making new sandwiches.
This one was just put on when I had gotten it. Now, these things were moving. People were buying them nonstop, and they were constantly having to make new ones. So right off the top, for freshness, it's looking good. I mean, the chicken looks crispy, not too soggy.
And not to knock Circle K while it's down, but the sandwiches were all where they were supposed to be. Now, Wawa was almost in this S tier category too, and deserved an honorable mention for their signature chicken quesadilla, or quesadilla for the non-Argentinian world.
Oh my God. This is in another league. It is delicious. It's seasoned very well. The chicken is flavorful. The pico de gallo has that kind of acidity and juiciness from the tomato that you like. The cheese, it's not overwhelmingly cheesy, so it doesn't get too greasy, but it's definitely there. This is the kind of quality I would expect from like a mid-tier fast food, kind of like Mexican fast food place.
If we were ranking based on taste, this would have been in a category even above S. It wasn't gas station food. It was restaurant quality. Obviously, freshness was also off the charts since it was made to order via touchscreen. And for $6.74, it beat even Bucky's in price. Unfortunately, the convenience is where Wawa fell from grace. From the moment I ordered to when I picked up my food, almost 15 minutes passed. Not an issue when you're seated at a restaurant, but when you're getting gas and trying to get back out on the road, 15 minutes seems like an eternity. So womp womp for Wawa, but at least it's still A tier. Ultimately, when it comes to the chicken options, grab and go should be your go-to. And excluding Sheetz, there weren't any truly bad tasting dishes. I mean, for what it's worth, even the mistaken breakfast sausage from Circle K was pretty darn good.
Oh, that is awesome.
Ah, what could have been. But that leads us to the final category, the meat. This one was unique in that most of the places had the same meat dish, the tried and true hot dog. It was honestly the easiest category to standardize our ranking across the board. Since the convenience was pretty equal, what this boiled down to was the freshness of the ingredients available and the price of each dog. Love's, Circle K, and Sheetz battled it out, and spoiler alert for the theorist team, Sheetz didn't do well again. Despite being the only made-to-order hot dog, it tasted the least fresh.
Not gonna lie to you one bit. The onion is flavorless. The bread is somehow stale.
I mean, just how is a made-to-order hot dog stale? I had to wait 5 minutes for this? The only reason it's not kicked right off of the list is because of the $1 price tag. It's literally the cheapest meat item we got over the course of the road trip, but the price isn't enough to offset the stale bread and the lack of convenience here with not being able to put on the toppings yourself. Circle K did let you put on the toppings yourself, and the hot dog was only 50 cents more than Sheetz's, but it was clear that the dogs and the ingredients had been left out there for quite some time. The onions and relish were lukewarm, and once again, the dog that I got was not the one that I intended. How hard is it to put things where they belong, Circle K? This time around, it was somehow even more egregious.
This is a jalapeno cheddar sausage. Did not realize that. It was in the all beef section, so shame on you, Circle K, because if someone were to eat this that doesn't have a spice tolerance, whoo-wee.
This actually did mean that my live action producer and wife couldn't try it for the second opinion, since eating something as spicy as that hot dog would no doubt kill her instantly. At least this time it was the right protein, so Circle K can rest easy in the C category. But all hope is not lost for the hot dogs theorists.
Honestly, way better than it should be. The all beef hot dog is flavorful, it's juicy, it's just really good.
Love's hot dog was a whopping $2.50, which is more than double the cost of Sheetz, but the sausage tasted fresh somehow, despite being under the cooking lamp for who knows how long. But it was the toppings that really shined here. The toppings were covered and put on an ice bed to keep them nice and cool without drying out and losing flavor. The convenience of grabbing whatever fresh things you want and skedaddling was great, and even though the price was the highest of the hot dogs, it's still only $2.50. Loved Love's, and for checking every box solidly, it was the top dog in the S tier. But it wasn't alone at the top. No, not Wawa. Their famous hot Italian sandwich couldn't even beat Circle K. It was $10 for the aforementioned 15-minute wait. No amount of freshness would make up for that. The second crown in this category goes to Bucky's once again. Their 3-meat sandwich was by far and away the best food we tasted.
Oh my God. That is restaurant quality. The astounding thing for me is that it hasn't even been left out enough for the heat to steam up and make the bread soggy.
And with this sandwich clearly being the fan favorite, they didn't stop constantly making fresh ones for people to just take. But there is a catch. This wasn't just the tastiest item, it was also the priciest. At a whopping $13, it was almost 6 times as expensive as Love's hot dog. Sure, it is fresh and very convenient. You don't even have to add toppings to it like you do with the hot dogs, but the price tag was just too much to overcome to land it in the S tier. The main thing to take away here though is that if you're hankering for a hot dog on the road, meat is the category you're gonna want to look for. And despite all the fancy schmancy foods popping up in gas stations all across the country, it's hard to beat a good old-fashioned hot dog. From the convenience of customization and speed to the price and the relative freshness, it's the safest bet for you at any gas station. And when it comes to which one stands on top of the rest, well, the average scores across all the categories actually give us a tie between Bucky's and the underdog we grew to love, Love's. So what does this mean for you? Well, if you're looking for a quick, cheap, and relatively tasty refuel, Love's is a national chain that has 640 locations in 42 states. But if you're in Bucky's land and want to shell out a few more bucks for some of the best tasting gas station food you'll ever have, it's a clear choice. And unless you're looking for coffee, stay far, far away from Sheetz. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. See you on the road. We're almost at the end of our trip, so come back because we'll be diving into the history of the US according to meat. And as always, I'll see you next week.